34-10. Chicago just handed Cleveland a loss that most fans are going to forget by Tuesday. But if you forget what happened inside that game, you are making a massive mistake. Because two quarterbacks walked into Soldier Field fighting for the same job, and what each of them did with their opportunity tells you way more than any final score ever could. One guy looked like a legitimate NFL starter for exactly as long as nobody touched him. The other guy opened his night with two throws that had every Browns fan on the edge of their seat, and then made one decision that brought the whole room crashing back down. Most people watching this game got distracted by the scoreboard and completely missed the one stat that exposes everything about where this competition actually stands right now. Before we get into this breakdown, I need you to do something for me. Drop a flame emoji in the comments if you think Shedeur won the night, or drop an ice emoji if you think Watson still has the edge. Do it right now before you hear a single word of this analysis, because I want to see where your gut lands before the facts hit the table. This is Gridiron ground, and what you are about to hear changes everything.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Let me start with Deshaun Watson because he got the first half and on paper his day looks solid. 11 of 15 passing, 126 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a 98 quarterback rating with 4 rushing yards sprinkled in. If you pulled up that stat line on your phone during halftime and moved on with your day, you probably walked away thinking Watson did exactly what he needed to do. Clean, efficient, professional, nothing to worry about. And that is exactly the trap the box score wants you to fall into. Because when you dig past the surface and look at how those numbers actually happen, the picture shifts dramatically. ESPN's Daniel Ofasi put together tracking data on Watson's performance split between clean pocket throws and pressured throws. And what that data revealed should concern every single person in Cleveland who cares about this quarterback situation. When Watson had a clean pocket to work from, he was 9 of 11 for 109 yards and a 108 quarterback rating. That is genuinely excellent. No complaints, no nitpicks. That is a starting caliber NFL quarterback making accurate throws with time and space. But the second pressure showed up, the numbers fell off a cliff. 2 of 4 for just 17 yards and a 61 rating. That is not a minor dip. That is two completely different quarterbacks living inside the same body, depending on whether the pocket holds up or collapses. And that gap is the single most important detail from Watson's entire half of football, because it tells you everything about what this offense is going to look like once the real season starts and defensive coordinators are actually game planning to generate pressure. A quarterback who thrives in a clean pocket and falls apart when things get dirty is a quarterback who is completely dependent on his offensive line playing at a high level every single Sunday. And if you have watched Cleveland's offensive line over the past few years, you already know that kind of consistency is not guaranteed. Now here is where I need you to understand something about how we do things here on Gridiron ground. We do not just tell you what happened. We break down why it matters and what it means going forward. And if that is the kind of honest, no-filter analysis you want every single week during this season, you need to subscribe right now so you never miss a breakdown. Because what I am about to tell you about Watson's second half collapse makes that pressure stat look even worse. Late in the first half, Watson took a hit that changed the entire texture of his night. 4th down, the pocket broke. He got strip sacked. The ball came out clean, and just like that, the drive was dead. Now every quarterback in the NFL is going to lose a fumble at some point. It happens. Even the best to ever do it have had the ball ripped out of their hands at the worst possible moment. That is not the part that concerns me.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
What concerns me is the pattern that seems to follow Watson every single time something goes wrong in a game. By his own admission, he has talked openly about his mental approach being in a better place now than when he first arrived in Cleveland. And credit to him for being honest about that. But the flip side of that admission is that it confirms what a lot of people watching him play have suspected for a while. When adversity hits, Watson does not always reset the way elite quarterbacks do. Watch guys like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson after a turnover. They come to the sideline, they process what happened, and by the time they jog back onto the field for the next drive, they have already flushed it. The bad play is gone. The next snap is the only thing that exists. With Watson, there is this lingering heaviness after a mistake. You can almost see him replaying it. And in a sport where the margin between a good throw and a bad throw is measured in fractions of a second, that kind of mental lag is a real problem. This is not me questioning his talent. When everything is flowing and the pocket is clean and the offense is moving, Watson can look like a quarterback you would absolutely build around. The issue is that NFL games are not played in ideal conditions. Defensive coordinators get paid millions of dollars specifically to create chaos and discomfort for the guy under center. And the question that still hangs over Watson heading into this regular season is whether he can perform at a high level when things are messy, when the pocket collapses, when a drive stalls, when the scoreboard is not in his favor. Today did not answer that question in the way Cleveland needed it to. And the strip sack fumble was not just a lost possession. It was another data point in a growing file of moments where Watson's play deteriorated after the first sign of trouble. That is not a death sentence for his chances of winning this job, but it is a red flag that this coaching staff absolutely cannot ignore. Especially when the guy who came in after him opened his night with two of the most electrifying throws any Browns quarterback has made in years. When Shedeur Sanders checked into the game in the third quarter, the energy shifted immediately. You could feel it even through the broadcast. First play of his drive, he fires a strike to Gage Larveden that picks up over 20 yards. Clean release, tight spiral, placed exactly where only his receiver could get it. And before you could even process what you just watched, he followed it up with a 35-yard shot down the field to Luke Floria that looked like something out of a highlight reel. 2 plays. 2 completions, both of them showcasing the exact traits that have had scouts and analysts buzzing about this kid since the day Cleveland brought him in. The arm talent is undeniable. The confidence in the pocket borders on fearless, and the accuracy on intermediate and deep throws is the kind of thing you either have or you do not, and Shedeur has it in a way that very few young quarterbacks in this league can match. For those 2 plays, it felt like the entire quarterback competition had been answered. This was the guy. This was the moment. And then reality showed up. Shedeur threw an interception that was genuinely bad. He targeted Malachi Clay on a throw that sailed over his receiver's head and landed in the arms of a defender who barely had to move to catch it. That is not a play you can defend. It was not a tipped ball or a miscommunication or a great defensive play. It was a poor decision and a worse throw. And it happened in the same quarter where he had just flashed everything that makes him special. On top of that, he had a couple of passes batted down at the line of scrimmage, which is something that has followed him throughout his career so far. Whether that is a release point issue or a pocket awareness issue or just bad luck is something this coaching staff needs to figure out quickly. His final line read 6 of 11, 79 yards, 1 interception. A quarter of work that gave you every reason to be excited and every reason to be cautious in equal measure. And that is exactly what makes this competition so fascinating and so frustrating at the same time. Here on Gridiron Ground, we give you the full picture, the good and the bad, no sugarcoating, no agenda. If you want analysis that actually respects your intelligence as a football fan, you need to hit that subscribe button. Because next week when Shedeur gets a full half, the breakdown is going to be even deeper. But before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement. Next week, there is one more quarterback from today's game that deserves a closer look. Dillon Gabriel played too, and while nobody is seriously suggesting he is going to leapfrog Watson or Shedeur for the starting job, what he showed today is still worth talking about. His final line was 5 of 8 for 23 yards with an interception, and that pick was a bad one. This is the same issue that has shown up consistently throughout training camp. Gabriel is efficient and safe when he is working underneath, 5 yards and closer, quick rhythm throws to his first read, check downs. The kind of low-risk football that keeps a drive alive without ever really threatening a defense. But the moment he tries to push the ball further down the field, the results get shaky fast. And today's interception was a textbook example of exactly that limitation showing up under live fire. He did flash a little more mobility than expected, which lines up with something interesting about how Todd Monken is building this offense. There is a clear emphasis on quarterbacks using their legs, extending plays, creating outside of structure when the pocket breaks down. Even Gabriel showed glimpses of that element today, which tells you the offensive coordinator wants this to be a core feature of the scheme regardless of who is under center. But here is where the honest evaluation has to land with Gabriel. His floor is genuinely useful. A quarterback who can come in cold off the bench and manage a short, efficient drive without turning the ball over is valuable across a 17-game season. Injuries happen. Bye weeks create weird roster math. Having a guy you can trust for a quarter or two in an emergency is not nothing. His ceiling, though, is the problem. Every single time he has tried to push past that comfortable underneath range, the results have ranged from inconsistent to outright costly. And that pattern has been so consistent across camp, and now into the first preseason game, that it is hard to imagine a scenario where he suddenly unlocks a different level of play. That is the profile of a solid QB3 or an emergency spot starter, not a legitimate threat to win this competition outright. And honestly, that might be exactly where this coaching staff ultimately lands him, which is not a bad outcome for a team that wanted genuine competition and organic depth at the position. Having 3 quarterbacks who each bring something different to the table is a luxury most teams do not have heading into a season. The question was never really about Gabriel threatening to win the job. It was about whether he could prove he belongs on this roster as a trusted third option. And today, he did just enough to keep that conversation alive, while confirming that his path to meaningful playing time probably runs through somebody else getting hurt rather than him outperforming the 2 guys ahead of him. But quarterbacks are only one piece of what happened in Chicago, and the guys catching those passes deserve their own spotlight. If you spent the entire game focused only on the quarterback situation, you missed something genuinely exciting happening around those guys. The offensive skill players showed up in a big way, and that matters more than people realize heading into this season. Casey Compton had himself a debut that should have every Browns fan paying attention. 3 catches for 27 yards plus that touchdown run where he stayed on his feet through contact and powered into the end zone. That last detail is significant because one of the biggest concerns coming out of college was whether he could hold onto the football in traffic and whether he had the balance to create yards after the catch at the NFL level. Today, he answered both of those questions emphatically. Strong hands, good balance, exactly the kind of physical play style that made Andrew Berry and this front office target him in the first place. If this version of Compton shows up consistently, this offense has a weapon that defenses are going to have to account for every single week. Denzel Boston flashed too. He hauled in a 15-yard reception while the starting group was on the field and looked like a guy who belonged out there without hesitation. Jerry Jeudy connected.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Connected with Watson for 2 catches and 18 yards. And while that is a modest stat line, the routes he was running and the way he created separation told a bigger story about how this receiver room is going to function when everybody is healthy and the real game plans come out. When the starters were actually on the field together at receiver, this group looked exactly like what the front office promised it would be. Speed, hands, versatility, size at the catch point. Different guys bringing different traits that give a coordinator multiple ways to attack a defense on any given play. And then there was Devin Booth, the undrafted rookie running back who took 4 carries and turned them into 53 yards of pure burst. The Browns signed him as a priority undrafted free agent, and today was a reminder of why they were so aggressive about getting him into this building. Making the final roster out of that running back room is not going to be easy given the depth already ahead of him on the chart. But a performance like that in a live game against a real opponent is exactly the kind of thing that forces a coaching staff to take a longer look. Undrafted guys live and die by these preseason moments. Practice reps against your own defense only tell you so much. Live tackling and real pursuit angles from an opposing scheme is where burst and vision actually get tested. And Booth passed that test today with room to spare. The bottom line on the offensive side of the ball is encouraging no matter how the quarterback competition shakes out. Whoever wins this job is inheriting a roster with genuine playmakers around him. But all of that optimism runs into a wall when you flip the field and look at what happened on defense. 34 points. That is what Cleveland's defense allowed to a Chicago Bears team that was leaning heavily on backups for most of the second half. And while preseason defensive performances deserve context and nuance, and all of the usual caveats about vanilla schemes and rotated starters, there is a limit to how much you can excuse. Giving up that kind of scoreline to a roster running out reserve players should genuinely concern this coaching staff heading into the next few weeks. The cornerback situation specifically is approaching crisis territory. There is a reason this front office has been signing corner after corner over the past few weeks, and it is not because they feel great about where the depth chart stands. Outside of the top 2 or 3 names in that room, there just is not a lot of proven talent. And it did not help that one of their better cover corners did not even play in this game, which only made an already thin secondary look even thinner against a Bears passing attack that had its way for extended stretches. Case Keenum, the former Brown, was out there for Chicago and looked like the best quarterback on the entire field. 9 of 10 passing, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, a perfect quarterback rating against Cleveland's defense. Let that sink in for a second. A veteran journeyman quarterback who has bounced around the league for years came in and carved up this secondary like it was not even there. Some fans were joking in the comments about whether Cleveland needs to bring him back, and no, that is not happening. But the fact that the joke even landed tells you something about how badly this defense got exposed today. There was also a familiar face on the Bears roster who caught 2 touchdown passes. A receiver who Browns fans might remember from last year's preseason when he connected with Shedeur Sanders for a pair of scores while playing for Cleveland. Now, he is on the other side putting up 88 receiving yards against the team that let him go. Preseason storylines have a funny way of circling back, and this one stung a little bit. When a front office is frantically adding bodies at cornerback in the middle of August, that is not routine roster building. That is a coaching staff and personnel department that looked at what they had and decided it was not good enough to survive a real NFL season. And today's game did nothing to ease those concerns. But here is the part most people are going to miss about why this defensive collapse actually makes the quarterback decision even more complicated. The defense and the quarterback battle are not 2 separate conversations. They are the same conversation, and most fans do not realize it. A defense that cannot get off the field puts direct pressure on whichever quarterback is playing to press, to force throws into tighter windows, to play from behind, to take risks he would not normally take because the scoreboard demands it. And that is exactly the kind of situation that exposes the specific weaknesses we saw from both Watson and Gabriel today. Watson's numbers collapsed under pressure. Gabriel could not push the ball past 5 yards without the results getting ugly. Put either of those guys in a game where the defense is hemorrhaging points and asking the offense to keep pace, and you are going to see the worst versions of both of them. That is not a quarterback problem. That is a roster construction problem. And it cuts the other way too, which is something that gets ignored even more often. A quarterback who protects the football and sustains long, efficient drives keeps his own defense off the field.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Keeps them rested. Keeps them fresh for the fourth quarter when games are actually decided. Fewer 3-and-outs means fewer short fields for the opposing offense. Fewer tired defensive snaps late in games. Fewer opportunities for a thin secondary to get exposed against fresh legs and aggressive play calling. So when this coaching staff sits down to make their final decision about who starts under center, they should not just be looking at completion percentage and quarterback rating. They should be weighing ball security and drive sustainability as heavily as any other factor, because the value of a turnover-free quarterback extends way past his own stat line. It ripples across the entire roster in ways that show up in the win column, even if they never show up on a highlight reel. That is one more reason I believe the evaluation has to prioritize consistency over flash. A quarterback who gives you 8 clean drives and 1 mistake is more valuable to this specific team than a quarterback who gives you 2 breathtaking plays and 3 disasters. And that framework matters even more when the defense behind him is still figuring itself out. This is the kind of analysis you are only going to get here on Gridiron ground. Full picture breakdowns that connect the dots between every unit on the roster, not just surface level reactions to a box score. If you are locked in on this team and you want to understand what is actually happening beyond the headlines, hit subscribe right now. Because the next few weeks of this competition are going to be the most important stretch of the Browns' offseason, and we are covering every single snap of it. So after everything we just broke down, or does this competition actually stand heading into next week? Here is the honest answer that nobody wants to hear. This competition is not settled, not even close. And anybody who watched this game and walked away with a definitive conclusion is seeing what they want to see instead of what actually happened. Watson looked like 2 completely different quarterbacks depending on whether his pocket was clean or collapsing. Shedeur flashed the kind of arm talent and confidence that makes you believe he should be the starter before reminding you that he is still capable of a throw that makes you hold your breath for the wrong reasons. Gabriel confirmed exactly what camp already told us about his profile. Useful in a limited role. Dangerous if you ask him to do more than that. No clean answers. No separation. Just more questions heading into what becomes the real evaluation window next week. And I actually think this coaching staff deserves credit for how they structured today's playing time. Giving Watson a full half was not an accident. It was designed to see how he handles a defense adjusting to him over the course of multiple drives. That pressure versus clean pocket split we talked about earlier is exactly the kind of information you can only extract from an extended look. A single series would never have revealed that gap. Giving Shedeur a quarter was intentional too. It was enough to see his burst and decision-making in a compressed window without overexposing him, before they are ready to give him the full half they have planned for next week. This staff is not
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Running through the motions with these preseason reps. They are structuring every minute of playing time to answer specific questions about each quarterback. And that kind of disciplined evaluation process is exactly what you want from a coaching staff facing a decision this significant. The roster bubble implications from today extend beyond just the quarterbacks too. Devin Booth's 53 yards on 4 carries just moved him closer to a roster spot, or at minimum, a practice squad stash. Compton's debut answered real questions about his ability to produce in live action, and several depth pieces at receiver and corner either helped or hurt their chances of surviving final cuts in a few weeks. Preseason games are month-long job interviews compressed into 3 showcases, and today gave us our first real data point on who is using that opportunity and who is wasting it. But the biggest data point of all comes next week when Shedeur Sanders gets a full half of live football for the first time. Here is what I want to leave you with. The biggest lesson from Chicago is not about any single stat line or any single throw. It is about patience. This fan base wants a definitive answer right now. After one preseason game, after 13 days of camp reports and a handful of series from each quarterback, that is not how evaluations of this magnitude work. You had good from both Watson and Shedeur today. You had bad from both of them too. You had a defense that exposed depth concerns that are going to keep this coaching staff up at night until they find solutions. And you had young players on the offensive side of the ball who gave you genuine reasons for optimism regardless of who is throwing them the football. What you did not get was a verdict, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something. The verdict comes later, after next week when Shedeur gets a full half. After the coaching staff watches the film and sees the things the broadcast did not show us. After the sample size grows large enough to actually trust. Until then, this is a competition, a real one, and the fact that neither guy fully separated himself today is not a disappointment. It is proof that this thing is being decided the right way, through performance, through evaluation, through patience. Next week, the answers start getting clearer. And when they do, Gridiron Ground will be right here breaking down every single snap so you never have to guess where this competition stands. Drop your quarterback grades in the comments. Tell me who won the night, and I will see you in the next one.